Hey, welcome back to A Faster Me. This is CBR number 6. It's the season finale. This is the women's P123 race, and the footage is courtesy of Marlena Bemis. This is her second P123 race, and this race, it looks like the women had a lot of fun. This is the Dash for Cash race, and basically there's a $50 premium on every single lap. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, they gave away a total of $1,550 in preems. I don't know what the overall prize was, but I believe it was $1,550 in preems. And I can't remember who it was for sure, but I think one rider got $400 in preems. And a couple people got like $200 in preems as well. So yeah, this is, I believe this is on the Dominguez Hill side. Can't remember, honestly. I can't remember which side is which, if this is the Carson side or the Dominguez side. Anyway, it's counterclockwise, all left turns, and it's kind of on the, what I believe is the smaller course. I think they're actually both about the same size, but I think this one kind of races a little smaller than the other one. So anyway, like I said, this is Marlena's second race, and shout out to Julie Sims right there in front of her in the with the red orange back, kind of black bibs with the orange back. I believe this is Julie's first P123 race. She's actually racing it in the Masters class because she's a Cat 4 right now. She hadn't moved up to Cat 3, but I think she's racing it in the Masters class. So either way, I believe this is her first P123 race, and I think she did a great job of, of racing this weekend, and just representing her team and proving to herself that she belongs in this field. So great job, Julie. These are long races. They're 50 minutes, and if you watch any of our videos or watch our channel, I purposely put out the entire race. I don't typically edit too much. If it's a road race or something, I'll shorten them just because they're, a couple hours. But on most of the crits, I'm going to put out the full race. And the reason is I'm not here to entertain people, really. It's really just about being able to see yourself out there racing, being able to learn from some of the lines, things like that. Hopefully I can add some valuable, I don't know if valuable is the right word, but hopefully I can add something to it with some of my commentary. But overall, it's just the raw aspects of racing, and that's kind of how we like it. No music, all that kind of stuff. Just we put the footage out. So, hopefully sooner or later, Marlena will be in the mix. Right now, she's still just, kind of getting her feet wet, learning how it goes. Someone kind of dive bombed on her right there a little late in that corner. But, sometimes that's what happens, especially if you're hanging around the back here. So, yeah, being that the videos are so long, there'll probably be a lull in the commentary every once in a while. Unless I just talk to hear myself talk, I'll probably have some silent moments. Just let the video play, and then I'll pick it up when I have something to say or see something that is worth commenting on. Yeah, and I would also say, being that there was a $50 premium on every lap, the race definitely started off really hot. Basically, I think, just from me watching it, it was very exciting to watch. And not only was it exciting to watch, it was pretty tough. It seemed like it was pretty tough on the body because of the preems. Most of the time, people were going to sprint every single lap on the front straight. Fortunately for people, and unfortunately for others, there was a breakaway sometimes. So, that breakaway rider is going to get the preems. So sometimes that made the sprint, less intense because nobody needed to sprint because the preem was already taken. So, as far as a putting out energy standpoint, that can kind of give the Peloton a break a little bit. But overall, yeah, it was competition for these preems. So I think from just a riding standpoint, I think Marlena can do a lot better job of kind of protecting herself here. She's kind of just floating off the back, not really holding a wheel. She moved up a little bit right now, as you can see, but these efforts get magnified back here if you're going to be in the, with the big accordion effect, especially with everyone sprinting for all these preems. It's going to stretch out, and you're basically going to be wasting a lot of useless energy or wasting energy for no reason back here, because every time the Peloton kind of sprints for that preem lap, everyone accelerates. There's going to be a little gap she's going to have to close all the time, pretty much every lap. And 50 minutes of that gets really old. So, hopefully we can get her, racing a little bit more competitively and just putting it on the line a little bit, getting up into the bunch and just saving some energy. Like I said, this is Julie's first race, and I think she did a great job of moving up into the pack and saving energy as much as possible. Even though you get a draft sometimes off the back here, it's not as efficient. You're much better sitting up there. Like if you see Camilla up there kind of in the middle, sitting up there protected. As I mentioned on the last race, I coached both Marlena and Camilla. And one of the things that, we're working on with Camilla is just being a little bit more efficient and trying to use her energy when it benefits her. We all know, anybody that watches the races or races with Camilla, we all know that she has like a huge heart. She's like she's a fierce competitor. So sometimes, and that's beautiful because that's something you can't teach. You really can't coach that. That's something that people are born with, and Camilla has that, that warrior spirit covered. You just know she's always going to give 100%. And sometimes you have to rein that in a little bit. Sometimes you have to pull her back, teach her how to be a little bit more efficient. And I think she did a beautiful job this race. She only averaged 170 watts this race, which that's a good job for her. That shows that she was very efficient when usually, she's over 200 watts or whatever for the race, or roughly around 200 watts. So she basically found a way to save 30 watts during this 50-minute race, especially with a lot of the surges that happened. I think she did a great job this weekend just staying protected, staying tucked in, and not doing too much work off the front. Give a little shout out to Melissa Locker right there. Melissa does a great job too. These races get pretty tough, and I think eventually Melissa was off the back, but she never quits. She always hangs in there and just gives a good effort throughout the entire event or the entire race. I want to say too that I believe Marlena averaged about mid 24s on this. Maybe it was 24.4, 24.5 for the race. Average speed for the race. That's pretty fast. And it's especially fast with all these surges because obviously they weren't just keeping it smooth the whole time. It was slowing down, speeding up, all that kind of stuff. You get a breakaway also, then you got people trying to slow down the Peloton for the breakaway. So even with the breakaways, they still average 20, mid 24s. I think also we have talked about this for the last 2 years now about where you can slot in the Masters women. And I think this worked out pretty good with the Masters women racing with the P123s. Obviously, it's a pretty large field, almost 30 riders in this field. And, I think that's, I don't know, it might be a pretty good formula. And I know the Masters women's a little bit different just because their field sizes are smaller. Like in the Masters men, you have to be a Cat 3 until you hit 60. Then I think 60 goes down to Cat 4. But for the women, once you're in the Masters, you can be a Cat 5 in the Masters, then don't know how to fix that problem, other than not allowing it. But yeah, that's the only thing I can see. Other than that, I think maybe the Masters should race with the P123 women. I did hear something that it's potentially that they may race with the 60 plus men next year, or open. I shouldn't say men because it's open. anyone can race that category. So yeah, I don't know what the solution is, but I definitely like to see this bigger field like this where you have 30 riders in the P123 races. It's, it gets hard sometimes. Like, all of us are there to support the races and things like that, but it does get hard sometimes when you watch a field and there's like 12 women racing. It gets a little hard because it gets stretched out, and then it just doesn't become as, let's say, as entertaining. And when you have a larger field, it just brings in a different dynamic, because then some of the riders that, don't have such a high threshold or high power output, they can benefit from the draft and kind of stay in it and still be competitive. Yeah, so I think it's a lot better to see these large fields opposed to having a field of less than 20 riders. And I don't see her right now, but I'm going to shout out Sarah Vargas as well. Sarah, I believe I see her later in this race when I was kind of putting the stats on it. And I think Sarah did a great job this weekend. It's tough. Sarah's only 13 years old, so it's tough out there with these women. These women are full-grown women, been racing for many years. And yeah, I think Sarah did a great job this year. She hung in the race the entire time. I don't remember what place she came in, but at the time that I was, putting the metrics on the video, I just saw her in the mix. And I can't say, honestly, I was a little bit surprised. Not that I was surprised about Sarah's talent. We all know she has incredible talent, but just being how hard this race was, I was still a little surprised to see her there so late in the race. But at the same time, Sarah's a great rider. She's won national championships as a junior, I believe, in both road and mountain bike. One of them she may have come in second, but I don't remember which one. I think that was last year or the year before. But yeah, just great job to her. And by the time she hits like 16, she's going to be definitely hard to deal with in a lot of these races. So yeah, just keep it up, Sarah. Yeah, I gotta, like I said, I always kind of praise Marlena's ability to, latch on and produce power, but she definitely needs to be up further. That's me on the sideline yelling at her, hey, move up before the Peloton splits, because I just thought for sure with all these attacks, the Peloton was going to split. I just thought for sure it's going to break off. And when it does break off, you definitely want to be on the front half, not the back half, because once it breaks and if it separates and you're on that back half, it's pretty much lights out. You're not catching up again. So yeah, I was just a little fearful of that, and I was just kind of get her to get up front, get tucked in, save some energy, but just kind of hover around the top 8, top 10, and I think that would have just been a better, definitely a better place for her. And then if she's available, if she's still around on the last lap or so, try to take advantage of it and make a move. So I think here she tries to do a good job of just moving up here on the outside. Or I'm sorry, it's technically the inside. But yeah, you just got to tuck in now. Just slide on in there to the right. The good thing is, the pace is kind of slow, so she's not having to use much power here. So yeah, now I think she has a pretty good chance if she just accelerates here and makes sure she stays slotted in. It's a pretty good acceleration there by the girls in front of her, and you can see the entire group basically accelerates here. You just got to find the spot to slot in, but yeah, I like it much better of her being in this position than kind of dangling off the back and just using or wasting so much energy, so many of those watts that she kind of holds. It's just better to be up here and be protected. Even though it's pretty strung out and you're probably about 12th place now, this 12th place is way better than being in 25th place. And she definitely has the ability to be here, to be up here in the mix. And once again here, she's just got to do a better job of tucking in. She's kind of dangling off to the side here, just eating a lot of wind, wasting energy. So just, yeah, just slide over into the right. You got to be tucked in there and save some energy. Cutting it pretty tight there. You know, running it into the gutter a little bit, getting close to the curb. And there's Sarah there in the 2024 kit. Like I said, she does a great job. You can see like she's low, she's arrow. She's definitely trying to take advantage of all the draft benefits. Um, yeah, I mean, once you get to that point where that's one, I don't know, that's one of the benefits I think of a lot of the junior riders is they learn at a very early age that they have to save energy, and they get really efficient at drafting. They get really efficient with the use of their cadence, just all those kind of things that make you a better rider, carrying momentum, um, keeping high speed. They get really good at those things, and you can see like Anya Chen, Sarah Vargas, and some of the other juniors. Obviously, Jack and Eli. They get really good at those things, and I think as some of us adults and older riders, we can definitely learn a lot from them on how to save energy. So I know sometimes people will ask me like, hey, why are they hugging this inside? And you know, the same answer does not apply to all situations. And I just want to say that because, sometimes I speak about the women's 4 or 5 races, and they're two different things. They're completely different. Um, the women that are leading this peloton, like they have the skill level to hug the inside of the course and still make the turns without slowing down as much, make the turns without any issues. They know their clearances, all those kind of things. It's not just a one size fits all rule that you have to take a wide or out in out approach to a corner. Like there's various ways you can take a corner. Maybe eventually I'll make a video on it, but there's multiple lines out there, and sometimes people get concerned, but really it goes by different. It goes by what skill level you're at. It goes by what speed you're carrying. All those kind of things. It's not just a one blanket rule that you can't be on the inside or anything like that. Yeah, it's still not the optimum line, but it's a strategic choice sometimes when you take it. And on this course, the wind was coming. Like right now, it's going into a headwind. And once you make the left-hand turn at the bottom of the hill here, it's kind of like a head crosswind coming off the right side. So yeah, if you strategically, it makes sense to hug the left side here, because anyone that goes around the right, they're slightly in more wind. So here, to see the peloton splits and Marlena's kind of stuck, doesn't know which side to follow. In my opinion, she should have followed the side to the left. If you look at the side to the left, all the front runners are on that left peloton, or gruppetto, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think she definitely should have just hugged the left and had a little bit better wind protection. And that's where all the usual suspects were at. So definitely want to follow them and not kind of follow some of the people that aren't running up front or don't usually run up front. Give a little shout out to Georgetta right there in the blue kid on the left. Georgetta's a pretty dynamic racer too. I know we talked to her about different things and how she races. I won't give away her reasons, kind of leave that a secret. But yeah, Georgetta's pretty dynamic. Like you'll see her back here sometimes just hanging out in the back. Sometimes she'll stay back there a good majority of the race, and then other times she's in a breakaway or off the front or challenging for preems. And yeah, I mean, I know that's normal. Sometimes people do it just to recover, stuff like that. But Georgetta's one of the people that, she's either off the front or she's hanging on to the back. I never really see her like kind of just hanging out in the middle of the peloton too much. So again, Marlena's just kind of displaying her ability to to ride off the back and get no draft or whatever, and still just hang out and stay in the race. Um, yeah, I wish he would stop showcasing this ability, but at the same time, I wish I had that ability. I wish I could just hang off the back of the peloton and accelerate anytime I want to get back on. Yeah, I definitely would be dropped riding like this. And, honestly, it's a bad habit. And she's going to get dropped riding like this eventually as well. Yeah, you just play with fire a little bit, and the next thing you know, the group accelerates and doesn't slow down. And, you blow yourself up just eating wind, pushing your own wind, when you really can be saving a lot of energy and just be better protected in the group. Which she's going to get out of that, One, she's going to get out of it because I'm going to keep bringing it up. And she's going to get tired of me talking about it. And she's going to get tired of you guys watching her do it. So, yeah, she's definitely going to get out of it once she gets comfortable and realizes that, hey, I belong in this group, and I'm going to roll the dice and, see what they land on and just give it my all and just start racing her bike. But at the same time, like I said, it's an ability not too many people have. You can definitely see the group has slowed down now. You see Marlena's heartbeat is down to 163, and I think she maxes out somewhere in the low 200s, 205, something like that. So yeah, I mean, definitely the group has set in a little bit, the group has settled a little bit. And I know there was a breakaway for a while. I think Heather was off the front for a while, picking up like a ton of preems, a ton of cash. And, then Feline was off the front for a little while as well. So they just took turns kind of going off the front, trying to break away, which they did break away. But eventually the group would run back Feline. And then I know Heather goes off the front as well. I believe that's Holly attacking on the left side over there with, a group of about 4 riders. And I don't know if this is for a preem or if they're just attacking or still trying to run down the break. Obviously, just from this camera angle, I can't see what's going on at the front. But I was there watching the race, and majority of the race, there was someone off the front. I saw Feline there, so obviously it wasn't Feline. And I know at one point Heather was off the front. I don't remember exactly who else was off the front. So that could have been just an attack for a preem or an attack to try to establish a breakaway. So Marlena's doing the ultimate tail gunning here now. Just open up a low 40, 50-yard gap and kind of roll through. Yeah, that's not really tail gunning what she was doing. I mean, it was to a degree, but yeah, that wasn't intentional tail gunning. So I was just making a little joke there. So there's Camilla there in the LABA kit to the right. I'm sure most of you that either race P123 or watch these races, you know who Camilla is. Camilla did a great job this race as well. Like I said, just working on being a little bit more efficient, and she had a great finish as always. She's always pretty much in the top 6. So another great job by Camilla. So I think here's a good job. You see Marlena shoots up the inside here. She's up to the front of the Peloton, kind of like for the first time. But she just needs to slot in, just kind of scoot over behind this rider here from Encyclo Mommies. Now that the acceleration goes, she should have been like right on that wheel. She's trying to close it out a little bit. But yeah, definitely a good job here of just kind of moving up to the front and not hanging out in the back. And right now she's racing her bike. The thing is, though, here, I think she should just stay there sitting on the Encyclo Mommy's wheel, I'm sorry. And, yeah, she should just sit on that wheel there, kind of recover a little bit, and you don't have to kind of pull out to the front here. So Marlena kind of doesn't really want to be exactly here on the front. And you see Felicia is over here to her left. And, they're putting in a pretty good effort, good 300 watts here. I'm not sure either one of them really wants to be here on the front. And I would say here, definitely have to keep your speed up. Just got to keep your speed up and slot in there. You don't need to drop back so many spots here. And yeah, I know it's hard sometimes for newer riders to get back into the Peloton. They think they're going to kind of disrupt people or whatever the case may be. But sometimes you got to get a little selfish, nothing unsafe, but you just got to be able to accelerate, get your speed up. And if there's any gaps at all, you definitely just got to kind of slide into that gap. And often at the turn, the gap will open and you can easily slide in at that point. Also, that's one of the advantages and disadvantages of having teammates. If you have teammates, you can easily have a teammate let you in. And when you don't have any teammates, yeah, you're kind of out there on your own. It's a little bit cutthroat sometime, and you just got to get in where you fit in. It's definitely good to see, though, that, it's good to see that Marlena was able to move up, get to the front of the race. It's one of the things you do when the race slows down. So, I definitely had a smile on my face seeing her at the front of the group instead of just hanging out in the back. So, like I said, eventually she'll get comfortable and then, she'll be racing her bike like the rest of these women. And yeah, like I said last time too, I don't know if apologies are really the right word for it, but yeah, I won't always be the solo voice on these races. Just Marlena's kind of on her way to Tulsa Tough. She's going to be kind of guest riding out there with LABA. So yeah, eventually she'll be doing these breakdowns with me, and it'd just be good to get her perspective. hopefully by the next race or whatever that she'll be in the mix a little bit more. And just, like I said, just racing her bike. There's really no expectation at this point. Like, she doesn't, there's no expectation for like a win or podium or anything like that. It's just new to the Peloton, moving up with a lot of super talented, strong riders that's been doing this for a long time. And it's really just going out there and, finding your way and just mixing it up a little bit. So again, just being so far off the back here, you just got to use so much energy just to, you know, latch back on and just get this draft benefit. Back here she's just using so much energy. Yeah, she's able to reconnect and stuff like that. But and I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but yeah, it's just the outcomes would be so different, if you just race your bike and, get rid of whatever hesitations or fears that you have and, just kind of get in the mix like you've been doing all year and like you've been doing for the last few years. Yes, you moved up to a new category, but same thing. It's just riding your bike. It's just racing your bike again. So, yeah, just being off the back like that and then catching up, using all that energy to catch back up. It takes a toll over 50 minutes, and I'm sure you guys have noticed she does that at least 8 times, 10 times, whatever the case may be. So. Also, all the Encycle Mommies brought out new uniforms for this race, from what I know. I don't know if they've ever worn those before or anything. I think it's my first time seeing them in it, so I'm just assuming that they're new. But yeah, it's a good look. Kind of pops are definitely easily recognizable. But yeah, so congrats on the new kits if they're new, and if not, I just don't know what I'm talking about. Again, there's Camilla just being patient. Great job again by her being patient. She did go up front and get a preem. So, and I remember on the sideline, I just yelled to her, like after the preem, chill out a little bit. I just didn't want her doing too much work on the front. So yeah, I think she did a great job making the adjustment, a great job just sitting in, being patient. And that just shows a lot of maturity to, have the energy that she has. She loves to attack. She loves to kind of get in the breakaway, stuff like that. But it shows a lot of race maturity and just mental, emotional maturity to be able to rein that in a little bit and then sit in the draft. There's Feline. You see Feline has the green jersey. The green jersey is basically like the sprint jersey. And, Feline's kind of had that, I think, for a little while now. But, yeah, there's points for, green jersey and stuff like that. And I want to say she won it for the entire series. But, honestly, I really don't know. I didn't pay too much attention to, who won the season series and things like that. But, yeah, that's just one of the good things about having a race series is there's different accomplishments that you can have, most aggressive rider basically, and then you can have the overall series points lead and stuff like that too, which is the yellow jersey. So yeah. It's a good job by Sandy also. I believe that's Sandy right there in the big orange kit. But yeah, Sandy, I believe this might be her first P123 race as well, and she did a great job also. She's definitely, she won the Cat 4 series lead, and I think she won every race or every CBR race this year in Cat 4 or the Cat 4-5 ladies field. which is basically almost every race, because I think Marlena won one, I think Tess won one, and both of those I believe were Ontario, the Majestic crits. So I think other than those two races, I think Sandy has won every race. So I think we're going to be down to about the last 5 laps now. These are pretty long laps. I want to say the laps were taking over 2 minutes. Or maybe it was just under 2 minutes. Can't remember. I might be mixing up those lap times with Barry Wolf. This is, I think, smaller course. So yeah, these laps are probably under 2 minutes. I just can't remember what time they were. But yeah, so we're probably down to about 6 laps to go. All right, definitely she's a little better attached here, getting a little bit of a draft. It's really not too efficient, it's not too tight, but it's better than just really sagging off the back. Not to mention she's probably tired of hearing me yell at her from the sidelines. Again, there's Jules to the right. Great job just hanging in there. Like I said, she's definitely drafting efficiently. It's really strung out right now, too, so the pace is pretty hot. There was another split here of the Peloton. This time, because there's an attack off the left side, you see everybody tries to accelerate and get on it. Also, just being so far back here, I think Marlena also had a little bit too high of a cadence. She always has a high cadence, but yeah, she was a little bit too high of a cadence this time. She was spinning out a little bit. I think she averaged just about 100 on her cadence here. I think it was 99 or 98 or something, which is not a big deal for her. She does that even in time trials. She averages like high 90s, mid to high 90s. But yeah, definitely when you're back here, you're not really. Yeah, she had to match a lot of accelerations just from being off the back, but or being at the back. But yeah, I think she definitely can vary her cadence a little bit sometimes, which I told her in the race. I told her that she needed to click one gear harder at some points just to save a little bit of that heart rate and save a little bit of her respiratory system, transfer it to her muscles just a little bit. It's just mixing it up at different times, especially on the downhill. She could have been like one gear harder. And then, of course, anytime you might need to accelerate or even going uphill, you can go to one gear lighter sometimes. I mean, obviously, you can do whatever you want, but Just being that I coach her and I know kind of what her numbers are and what her abilities are. Yeah, for this race, I think she definitely could have varied her cadence a little more. She's on the right side here, though, to get a little wind protection. As you can see, sometimes she's just coasting. It looks like her. It doesn't look like she's coasting because sometimes the cadence still reads, but I think there's just a little delay in her cadence. When you see the watts drop out, sometimes there's a delay in her cadence. Will stay the same. It won't drop like it's supposed to. Another different lines here for that turn. As you can see, the Peloton went wide, which is the long way around. Hitting the apex on the inside allowed Marlena to move up about a good 8 spots or so. And again, she just needs to tuck in a little better here. But, you know, I'm definitely glad to just see her racing a little bit better and seeing her up near the front now. And here, definitely I would have just loved to see her tuck in a little bit, but instead she goes to the front, which is fine. Definitely finding herself a little bit here, going out front. So this is something, though, that I need to point out, and excuse me. Yeah, so this is something I think she. I don't know if this is the right lap or not, but it looks like it is. Yeah, I think she's been on the back so long. You know, this is one of the problems of being on the back of the Peloton. She's on the back so long that she didn't realize that, I believe it's Georgetta and Heather, they're off the front. So she thinks this is the front of the Peloton, and she was wondering why nobody was going for this preem. She was like, hey, why isn't anyone going around me? Why isn't anyone like sprinting for the preem or anything? Because she thinks this is the front of the Peloton. Being on the back so long, she never realized that, I believe it's Heather and Georgetta, they're off the front. They basically, they're basically going to solo to the victory. You're racing for third place now. But here she was expecting everyone to sprint and kind of come around her, and no one did. So she's kind of thinking like, hey, I might win a preem here. And, she asked me after the race if she had won a preem. And I was like, no, there's 2 people off the front, So that's one of the things about being on the back. You can't see moves. You can't go with moves. And often you just, you really don't know what's going on at the front unless there's someone that, to communicate with. And being that she never saw them go off the front, of course she wouldn't know that they're off the front. So again, with 2 girls off the front, you kind of just do a pull, waste a lot of energy, and it's really to no one's benefit since you don't have any teammates. You're racing for yourself. It's just just a lesson learned that you can't hang out so far in the back and not be able to know what's going on in the race. So here, yeah, she's looking around, hoping that someone comes by, and then a rocket cuts her front wheel there. Somewhat dangerous. Definitely could have chopped her front wheel. I think that was Chloe Patrick. And obviously she wasn't trying to do anything dangerous. She's just trying to cover that move over to the left. But yeah, it was pretty close though. And my apologies if it wasn't Chloe. I just, I thought that's who it was. So again, we find ourselves back with only like 2 laps to go. We find ourselves at the back of the Peloton again. And again, that's just one of the things, like if you go off the front or anytime that you're near the front and you pull or whatever the case may be and you're at a spot where you want to, you let people go by. You still do have to keep your speed up a little bit for that very reason, to be able to match the accelerations when the group does pass you, so you can slot back in. Um, Going from first to worst, that's pretty taxing, and then it's really hard to move up, especially in the last couple laps. So here again, like I said, this is big time bad habit here of just letting these huge gaps open. Um, yeah, eventually you'll get caught out. Eventually you will not catch back up to the Peloton. Could be just when you're having a bad day, or just when the group's going a little faster, or an attack happens at that very moment, and next thing you know, you're, too far back to catch back up. All right, so I think here we're going to be going into the last lap. One more turn. I think we're going into the last lap. Yeah, I don't think this is it here. So as you see here, going into the last lap, two things happened. One, she was on the front just a lap ago. Yeah, one, she was just on the front just a lap ago, and two, going into the last lap. Yeah, there's going to be an acceleration there, so you can easily get caught out in a position to where you just can't catch back up to the Peloton. It doesn't matter how strong you are. It's just a bad habit, and eventually it's going to sting. It's going to sting, and it's going to sting in a way where you can't recover. But as you can see, once again, she's pretty much kind of reattaching again for the most part, or trying to run down the group. And it's not like the group is going slow. The group is moving. But it's still a lot of energy wasted. You can be in the Peloton. You can be so much further up in the Peloton and getting such a better position. This is just a lot of energy it took to come from so far back. Yeah, see all that energy, she now doesn't even have a sprint. Barely doesn't even hit 500 watts here, and she's capable of over 800 watts. So yeah, just got to save your energy, ride in better positions, have some more confidence, and yeah, you'll be up there in a much better position. So anyway, yeah, that's it. Sorry to kind of ramble a little bit. Hopefully I'll get Marlena on so she can break down some of these films. And the next P123 race, or actually it'll be a Tulsa Tough 2-3 race. So thanks for watching.